Hey guys, welcome back to Eat Up With It. It's just me again. I'm gonna roll again by myself. Yeah, I'm back in the room today. We did that last one on the porch. I was actually gonna do one on the porch today because it was a really, really nice day out. But I waited too long. Ended up going to the gym with a buddy, and then things happen. And now I'm back in the room. And unfortunately, I'm back in the room. Uh, does my mom have cats? Yes. Did one of the cats just have kittens? Yes. Are all the kittens and the cat in here? That way they don't run off and she doesn't get pregnant again? Absolutely. Does she have a litter box in here and does it smell terrible? 100%. But you know what? We're making it. We're going to make it. We're going to do it together. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Normally they stay outside and, they have kittens and you have to protect them. So I guess we're going to bring them inside and put them in a cardboard box in my podcast room. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. Anyhow, so for starters, I'm sure everybody's like, well, what is he wearing? Well, your boy is representing today. All right, your boy is out here showing out because we just got our future. We did. We got our future over the weekend, but that's not where I'm going to start. I'm not going to start there. I guess I'll start, stay with a little bit of me first. I've been out of the gym for a few weeks. I tore my hamstring. Not bad. It might have been a pull. I didn't have an MRI. It wasn't confirmed. Doctor thought I might have actually tore it middle of the muscle belly, in the middle muscle, because I guess there's a few there, and they kind of act like as a cushion with each other, I guess. And anyway, so I've been pretty sedentary for the last few weeks, and so I went back to the gym for the first time in a little while. Weak as water. Sucked. Absolutely sucked. It was depressing. Now I'm sad. But I'll get over it. I will get over it. But it's been pretty good. The last little while, just actually taking a break. I went through a couple of hard programs, and I was able to level out and really feel like I got some much-needed rest, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and I'll take it. But anyway, so let's get into the whole reason I'm here. So the draft was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something. It was this weekend. And, some good stuff happened. Pretty much like I assumed. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the last podcast. It was Caleb Williams going first to the Bears, Jaden Daniels going second to the Commanders, and then third, my boys drafted Drake Maye, which was the right decision, I think, as far as what everybody else says. I don't know. I'm just some guy, I don't get paid to do this. I do this for fun. I'm in my mom's house right now. So, anyway, it was a good little deal. A lot of crazy stuff happened, like Atlanta drafted Michael Penix with the 9th pick. That was pretty crazy, just because they just signed Kirk Cousins to a big 4-year deal or whatever it was. So that was pretty crazy to see that. It makes sense to do something like that. That way you have a really talented young guy who may not be fully ready to take the reins yet. Now you have a bona fide vet, even though he is coming off of an Achilles injury. He's got some things going on. He's getting a little bit up there in the age. Could not have asked for a better situation to be that talented as a backup and to just have no expectations to come in and start. So he will just get to come in and just be nothing but a student and to be able to learn and figure some stuff out. So Michael Penix is in a pretty good seat. The Falcons just have to figure it out. And I think they probably will eventually. If you give them enough time, it seems like they've got a new group down there running the show, and it seems like they're gonna do pretty good. Other than that, oh no, I lied. It wasn't the 9th pick. That was the 8th pick. And then Rome Odunze, Michael Penix's receiver, I think was 9. He was right there close. I think it was 9. And anyway, Rome Odunze was one of the best receivers in college football. And so the Chicago Bears ended up picking him up in the 9th pick. So they got the far and away best quarterback. Supposed to be. He's supposed to be the far and away best quarterback in Caleb Williams. They got him first, and then they pick up Rome Odunze with the 9th pick, and which I figured they would trade back. That would make sense. I mean, you already got the first. Who are you going to take at 9? Well, how about another receiver to add to your core that you've built over the year? So really, Chicago's looking stacked. But that's where I'm going to start before I get to my boys out there in Foxborough. I'm going to start there in Chicago. The Bears drafted Caleb Williams, like I said, first overall in the 2024 NFL draft. He was noticeably excited to being drafted. A lot of those guys, whenever they get drafted first overall, they're excited or whatever, but they're not like hyped up. This dude, an first overall draft pick will stand up, button himself up, get ready, whatever, hug his mom, kiss his dad, all that good stuff, and just mosey up to the stand to give Roger Goodell a hug and pose for a picture with a number 1 on his jersey. That's what a lot of them do. This dude, Caleb Williams, was freaking out. He was so excited to be number 1. It seemed almost personal. And it's something that isn't that crazy because you just went number 1. You're the best, right? Like, you're obviously, unequivocally the best now. That's what this team decided, that you are. They could have picked anybody. You're the best. You're number 1. I just think that he, for the longest time, has said that he was gonna be great, because in high school he was saying that he wasn't just gonna go to the NFL. A lot of people, whenever they're in high school, they're like, I want to make it to the NFL. I want to go be in the NFL and be a quarterback or be a running back or anything like that. That wasn't what he was saying. He was saying in high school, as a teenager, I want to be the number 1 overall draft pick. I don't want to go to the NFL. I want to be the number 1 overall draft pick. And this dude comes out and does it. Some people would say, I'm sure there's a lot of people while he was in high school was like, oh, he's just cocky. Maybe he was really good. I didn't actually look it up to what he was ranked in high school. I should have. It's my fault. But maybe a lot of people were saying that this was a cocky way to be, right? Because anybody that ever tries to say, like, even if they are, I'm better than some other people or I'm better than them or whatever, people just think of it as like a cockiness thing. And I'm a firm believer that there is a fine line between cockiness and confidence. Because I was the kind of person where a lot of people would say that I was cocky about certain things in high school or even today, all the way up to today, 6 years later now, as crazy as that is for me to say out loud. And I was never that great at anything as this dude was at this one thing. But, I mean, when I wrestled a lot in high school, wrestled for 8 years, from 5th grade all the way up. I think that's 8 years. Whatever it is. I wrestled a long time. And anyway, it wasn't that I was cocky about it. It's just that I was confident in what I was capable of. And I really think that this dude was just... he believed in himself so much as a teenager that he was just able to kind of manifest this, and he worked for it. I'm sure he worked day in, day out. I mean, God-given talent. I mean, I dare anybody to just go be a top quarterback in the nation and go number 1 overall without a doubt. Like, he's going number 1. I dare anybody to do that. You're just not going to. That's God-given talent. But if you have the willingness to put behind it and the confidence to be like, this is what I am. He got his name called, and he didn't just stand up and button his shirt and give his brothers high fives and whatever and just walk it with a smile. They're all smiling and they're, whatever. They're happy to be there. But he didn't just do that. He was absolutely fired up. He was yelling. He was screaming. He is happy to be going to Chicago. He did not care. He's number one, and that's all he cared about. All he wanted to do was get up there, shake Roger Goodell's hand, and the moment his name was called, he was vindicated because he always said, I'm going to be number one, and there's nobody that's going to be able to stop me from it. And he did it. I am now a Caleb Williams fan. Never was indifferent about him before. I really didn't. It is what it is. I didn't really care. He's a really good quarterback. I watched him a bunch and stuff, but I watched him a few times. I wouldn't say a bunch. I did watch him a few times, 5 or 6 times over the last 2 years. And he's great. He really, really is. And he's put in the work. He was the number one pick, and he just vindicated what he was saying ever since high school. And I hope everybody that has ever called him cocky while he was in high school, while he was in college, can now look at it and say, well, there is a difference between being cocky and being confident. He could have been and would have been the number one pick last year. Last year, he was going to be the number one pick over Bryce Young. He would have been. I do not care what anybody says. He was going number one if he came to the league. He chose to stay another year. I don't really know if it was because of the money that he was making in college was going to, supersede whatever he's going to make in the NFL this year, last year. I mean, first overall picks, they get paid pretty good in all both of the major sports, basketball and football. I don't talk baseball. Sorry. Testosterone's too high. And anyway, it's he chose not. He could have went first last year. He chose not to. I'm not really sure if that's because he just didn't want to go to North Carolina. I can't remember the time frame, and I tried to find it, and I really just couldn't. I dug for like 30 minutes, and I just gave up. I don't remember when Carolina traded DJ Moore and that bag of picks to Chicago for last year's number one overall, who was Bryce Young. I don't remember if he just decided that he wasn't going to go because Carolina had already got the pick. But either way, Chicago comes out on top because Chicago traded the number one overall pick, which was Bryce Young, for the number one, what turned out to be the number one overall pick this year. And it was Caleb Williams anyways. So Chicago should have gotten Caleb Williams last year had he have came into the draft. Caleb Williams decides he's not coming. Chicago probably, I can't remember the time frame, but they just, all right, well, we're going to shift this pick. They shipped it off. They got one back. Everything happens for a reason. They get the number one overall draft pick. Let's talk a little bit about the Bears as a whole now. They get Caleb Williams at number one. And then they pick up Rome Odunze from Washington. One of the best receivers in college last year. I think he was the third receiver off the board. I think so. Like 13 or 14 offensive players went for the first 13 or 14 picks. It's the first time that's happened in a long time, or ever. I don't remember. It's a long time. It's crazy. You expect, everybody's draft boards got blown up. It was bad because they just expected these like linebackers, from here and there and Alabama and all these guys. They expected, some of these defensive guys, these corners, to get out of there. And they never did early. But with the Bears picking up Rome in at 9, the Bears are stacking up to do something that is going to be impressive if it works out. They really have shifted from a team that has always been defensive minded forever and ever. They have held on to the idea of the 85 Bears and Mike Ditka and all that stuff, and they've held on to that defense first mentality, and they're finally realizing where the league's going towards and where it has been going towards for a long time. If you can't score, it's going to be really hard for you. Or even if you can't, you really have a hard time scoring, but your defense is really good, but in the big moments, you can put that ball in the end zone like the Chiefs did last year. The Chiefs had a really, really good defense. That defense was really, really good. They were able to keep the offense in games because they just didn't have the firepower to go out there and score all the time. They only scored over 24 points like 4 or 5 times. I can't remember. It's not much. They really had a hard time scoring last year. But when you set your quarterback up, who is going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, probably going to end up second. Who knows? Maybe he can do some extra stuff and get ahead of my boy here. Got his name on my back. He's got a chance. You give your guy that's that talented a chance to get in these positions. They're going to go score if you have the right system, the right players in place. And if you've only went defense and you've just tried to make these, 10th, 11th overall pick quarterbacks try to make these things happen, you're really just having a hard time if they're not who they need to be. Patrick Mahomes was the 10th overall pick. He was a diamond in the rough. He slipped a few. He was supposed to go higher. He slipped. They got him at 10. Off to the races. Got matched with Andy Reid. It's over. The Bears are setting up to move into that offensive fashion. They now have Caleb Williams at quarterback. They got DeAndre Swift at running back. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen from the Chargers. A phenomenal route runner. He will catch the ball if it's thrown his way. He's a vacuum cleaner. And they have a good tight end core, too, in Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. They got Gerald Everett from the Chargers this year. It's just they are absolutely trying to change the way that people view them, and I'm really excited for it. It's looking like it's going to be a good season for that division. That division is hard division. They got Minnesota and Green Bay and Detroit, and dude, that's a division right there, man. Now if the Bears turn out to be something good, that's one of the hardest divisions in football. If they turn out to be a good team and J.J. McCarthy turns out to be worth his weight at Minnesota, I mean, that division is the division to watch. That division is a division to watch. It's so much going on up there. The Bears have finally put themselves in a position to score the football, or to score touchdowns and to move the football. And in turn, that will put them in better positions to win football games. These Bears are coming, and I really can't wait to see it. So now, to get to the important things. Let's get to the important things. This is something I actually care about. Let's talk about the Patriots. So the Patriots drafted Drake Maye with the 3rd overall pick. He's from North Carolina. I did not watch him one time. Never Never saw one game. I just didn't. I didn't really hear about him until the 10th week of the season or so, like the ninth week of the season. Is a while. I didn't really hear about him until they were like, man, this guy's gonna go high. And I watched some highlights. He really throws a nice ball. He can he can move. I mean, I think he runs a 4.6 40. He seems like a really good athlete. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", so he moves in the pocket well. Seems like he's not afraid to pull that ball down and take off. That's good. That's a good thing. It's a change of pace. I want somebody who can stick in that pocket that also has the feet to be able to make something happen if it has to happen. I'll tell you though, when the Commanders were about to take their pick, your boy was standing up in the living room, arms crossed, just praying that they were going to take Drake Maye, and then they would let Jaden Daniels fall to us. Oh, God. I wanted Jaden Daniels so bad. Jaden Daniels from LSU, Heisman Trophy winner last year. If he would have fell to us, I would have felt so good about our future, just because it would have just completely changed the franchise from a athleticism point. Like, he is just so fluid. He moves like water. Whenever he hits that sideline, he is out of the building. He's gone. He throws a cannon. I had watched him a couple times. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. Like, whenever I'm thinking about it, the league is kind of shifting to this deal of the pocket passer. If you're a pure pocket passer and you can't get outside of that pocket, you're not going to be as effective, because all these defenders aren't just gigantic men anymore. They're still gigantic people. They would tower over me. They're gigantic, but they're not, like, they have to be athletes. These guys that are playing these linebacker positions, they have to be athletes. So to get that quarterback to be able to get out and move around the pocket, it's really, really important. You got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. All those guys will be able to just pull that ball down and take off if that pocket starts to fudge a little bit. If it starts to close in, gone. They will just take off. Josh Allen will run through you. Lamar Jackson will run around you. And Patrick Mahomes will do whatever he has to do, that little stinker, to get that first down on a 4th and 4 or and he'll get 13 yards. It just kills me. But they use their athleticism as a weapon. They are just so overwhelming with their talent that I just really think that we got to be able to see where this Drake Maye guy is, because these guys that are at the top, running the league. I'm not saying a Kirk Cousins. He's a good quarterback. He's a 12 to a 15 quarterback every single year. 12 to 15 in the league. He's right there. He's not bad. If you started for as long as he has in the NFL, you're not bad, no matter what anybody says. It's hard to win in the league. But I wanted dominant. Somebody who is just blatantly talented to the max. And I don't know what Drake Maye is. I didn't watch him. I didn't have him on my radar. He wasn't. North Carolina just isn't one of the teams where it's like, unless he makes it to a bowl game, I'm not going to watch it. So I am speaking from a point of ignorance whenever it comes to Drake. I am, however, very excited by the idea of Drake Maye because of how everybody talks about him. I'm ready to see what this next deal is, coming from the Tom Brady era is we haven't recovered from Tom Brady leaving. And this year, Bill Belichick is moved on. And I'm just ready to see what's next for the Patriots. Now, I'm being civil. Those boys in Boston aren't gonna be. They're gonna be excited for the first 6 games if Drake Maye starts. Now, they do have Jacoby Brissett. They just signed him. I don't know that they will start Drake Maye first. I don't think that they will. Unless they just get to camp and Drake Maye is just way better than everybody expected. He's just, oh my God, he doesn't miss a pass, he doesn't miss a read. He's the smartest guy in the room. He's running through our defense like he's just chopping them up, whatever. If he starts, I'll be like, okay, all right, because Jacoby Brissett, again, he's not bad. He's in the lower half of the league. But, he's been around for a while. And I think that that's important. But what's most important, I feel like, to see where Drake Maye ends up, as any Patriots fan can tell you, you don't have to be the biggest. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to have the biggest arm. You don't have to have any of these specific things. If you can do your job correctly, you will make it very, very far. If you are really good at whatever you're supposed to be doing, you're going to be just fine. And that all starts between these headphones. What's going on between the ears? If you can handle yourself on whatever you're supposed to be doing, I'm not a quarterback. I don't know. You have checks and reads, and you're trying to figure out the defense as soon as you break, and then they shift, and now you've got an audible out. There's a lot to do. I couldn't do it, but Tom Brady figured it out. And it's because I don't think it's from anything less than the fact that he would not be denied. He wasn't supposed to be there. He thought he was, but nobody else really believed in him. Somebody passes up on you 198 times. I think he's 199. I mean, whatever. Somebody passes up on you almost 200 times. That sucks. And I think it gave him a drive to where he just would not be denied. He could not be denied. I'm excited that we got such a highly touted guy. Everybody was saying that he's really, really good. But whenever you're playing for the Patriots, what's going to be expected of you is a little different than whenever you're playing as a backup for the Falcons. If we're spending a third overall pick on you, we're talking division titles. We're talking winning seasons, playoff wins, conference championship appearances, conference championship wins, and then eventually the Super Bowl. That's what those guys are going to want because they're spoiled. I'm spoiled. Ever since I was 7 years old, and I watched Tom Brady throw that football to Randy Moss for that almost near perfect season. You couldn't tell me nothing else. And I have just been spoon-fed greatness for the last 15 years, 12 years, whatever it is. I watched the man win 4 Super Bowls with my own eyes. Because he won 3 before I started watching football. I'm sorry. I was 4 in 2004. But one thing that really did confuse me about all of it, though, in the 6th round with the 193rd pick, The Patriots selected Joe Milton III from Tennessee, who is a ridiculously talented quarterback. He is very talented. He has a cannon for a shoulder. Let's see, I have it somewhere. Oh, here it is. He's 6'5", 235 pounds. That is crazy. He has, from everything I've seen, he was said to have second, third round talent. His talent is there. He has a consistency issue, supposedly, or apparently, I should say, from what everybody says. Um, and, I'm just confused why we would draft a guy who is that high profile of a pick, because he was expected to go in the 5th or 6th round. He was a good pick to make. But my thing is what do we do with a Joe Milton? Because he is so talented of an athlete. Um, are you just gonna sit him behind Brock, or I almost called him Brock Purdy, Drake Maye, and Jacoby Brissett? Because even if Drake Maye beats Jacoby out, is Joe going to beat out Jacoby? I don't know. People say he's not consistent enough. A little bit of a problem for Jacoby too, though. So you're just kind of creating a little bit of tension there. I feel like some unneeded tension. It just is. It's confusing to me. Because he is just going to be such a. Let's say he does make the roster as the third guy, Joe Milton, and then Jacoby has a bad first 3-4 games. Drake Maye goes in. Drake Maye has a bad 5-6 games. Maybe he goes 2-4 in his first 6 games. Now the Pats are sitting at 2-9, or maybe let's call it 3-9. Jacoby won 1 out of 4. Yeah, we'll call it 3-9. And now people are like, what have we done? Well, let's see something different. Even the coach would be pressured to be like, all right, well, we could sit Drake because he is such a high pick. We could sit him, let him develop for another year. Let's put in this other dude and just see what he can do. And then maybe just switch the offense around to where we're a run-first team or whatever they're going to do. Let's say he goes 3-1. And the last 4 games of the season, you've got an issue. You have a problem. Because now you have you have a really talented guy who wasn't supposed to be consistent or whatever, and he went out there and he put together a good thread of 4 games, and he ended up dropping one of them because of a crazy pass or a Patrick Mahomes doing his thing or whatever. I just don't know if you needed that kind of pressure for a guy that's already trying to follow up the Tom Brady-Bill Belichick dynasty. I think you just kind of stick with Bailey Zappi and Jacoby Brissett on your depth chart, because now you're just wasting a draft pick on this guy if you're going to bring him in and then cut him later. To me, it doesn't make sense. We have other positions we really needed, and I just don't see the point in it. Now, I have heard something about maybe they're considering, people have thought that Joe Milton would come in and he would go to tight end. And I like that idea. He's big enough. He's damn sure fast enough. He's, runs a 4.6. I mean, he's 6'5", 235, runs a 4.6 40. He gains another 10, 15 pounds. He's a freak. And he's a quarterback. so he understands the motion of the game. He knows what he has to do. Where he's got to be. He understands the importance of having timing. You would assume that he has that. So what we're gonna do in the first 6 games is really gonna be the most intriguing to me. I'm gonna be ready to see what the plan is. What is the plan? Gerard Mayo has probably got a plan, and I'm ready to see it. I remember watching him whenever I first started watching football. He was a beast. But let's see if he's able to follow up the greatest dynasty of all time that was over a few years ago. I'll give you that. It was over a few years ago. But now it is in the ground. The city of champions, Boston, is hungry and ready for another team to grab onto. The Celtics look really good. The Celtics look like they have a real chance of going and doing it. And if they don't, they're going to start getting hungry. They're going to start getting angry. Boston ain't playing. They ain't playing. I hope that Drake Maye turns out to be everything he's supposed to be as a 3rd overall pick. The man wins me a Super Bowl. You paid your dues, sir. If he goes the next 10, 12, 13, 14 years and he makes us a contender every year, will I be aggravated that he didn't actually get the big dance done if he doesn't actually do it? Sure. But if he puts us in contention, I could not be that angry because a lot of teams are really bad for a long time. The Bears have been really bad for a long time, and they had a bad year this year. But I think this year coming up is going to be the Bears' year. I just have to hope and be patient that the Patriots are in a new groove now and they move into that offensive space like Chicago has. Chicago is going to be a good test run for everybody. Defensive team going the other way. I'm excited. I'm ready to see what happens. And before I go, I guess I have one more thing I could talk about because I'm only at. I'm a little short. I thought I had enough to talk about on those. So I made my predictions for the NBA first round of the NBA playoffs with the Philadelphia and the Knicks, and not gonna lie, I haven't kept up with that at all. I haven't. I've been busy. Been working at home. I had a lot of stuff to do, man. But the one thing I always keep up with is Lakers basketball. Every day. I get the notifications on my phone. They are having a bit of a hard time with the Nuggets. A little harder than I expected. It's been some good games. I actually watched a lot of the one where they lost in the buzzer beater. So I guess that was game 1 or 2. They've had a really hard way to go. D'Lo has not shown out. He's really shut off and been quiet. If we're being honest, he's really not done what he's supposed to. He's had a good year, but for whatever reason, when those lights turn on and they're as bright as they're going to be, and they're only getting brighter, he starts to melt a little bit and fade a little bit. LeBron is the king of consistency. My man's still going out there getting you 26, 8, and 12, or 26, 8, and 9, or whatever, 29, 13, and 8, whatever. He's always consistent. He's always right there. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but he's right there. I know that 25, 26 points for the series. It's just I was dead wrong on the 7 games. I just think so far, because it's not over yet. They pushed to game 5, but you go down 3-0, it's over, man. It's over. You got to win 4 straight. Nah, I don't think so. Um, even with the goat, I just don't know what more that these guys could really do to win and handle them on a consistent basis. They had a good game in their last game to push the game 4. They did really well. But there's just no way for you to just overcome the odds like that. If anybody's going to do it, it's LeBron. It is. I understand that. I still believe in him. I mean, favorite player of all time, absolutely the GOAT. Absolutely. I don't want to hear it from anybody. He's got more points than anybody. He's going to finish top 5 in assists and top 10 in rebounding or some crap. He's got more minutes than anybody. He's played greater, longer than anybody. Dude, y'all can miss me with the 6-for-6. Miss me with that. My man went to 8 straight finals and lost to better teams than Michael Jordan ever played once. He never played a Spurs team like LeBron played. Ever. Michael Jordan never played a Warriors team like LeBron played. Either one of them. The 73-win team or the KD Warriors. He never played either one of them, and the KD Warriors were better. Michael Jordan was at the right place at the right time as far as having as much exposure as you could have with the talent that's going against and even with him. I'm not saying that everybody he was with wasn't. Some of the people down the bench weren't as great as they are today. Like, I don't want to hear that people were better back then. They played harder defense. They beat each other up. Sure, absolutely. But people want to say LeBron's a flopper. The dude's using the rules to his advantage. If that's the rule, use it. It gets me to the free throw line. It helps my team. If you run over top of me, that's a charge. I'm going to just go ahead and fall down. So, if anybody is going to be able to pull off a 3-0 comeback against the reigning defending champions in the first round of the playoffs whenever you were in the play-in tournament, his name's LeBron James, and he'll figure out a way to do it. I don't think this is that case. I think this may be the last chance we really have to see LeBron try to take a stab. I think that he's taking a stab at trying to just go ahead and go do it. His son's gonna get drafted. Bronny will get drafted this year. LeBron, I believe, is a free agent. He will go to whatever team drafts Bronny. So whatever team has a pick that is not ridiculous to draft Bronny with, if it's a late first or an early second or something, and you can take Bronny, like if you're going to take the 22nd dude out of St. Paul that could just be whatever, or you could draft Bronny James and get LeBron James because that's what's going to happen. You would do that, and you should do that. Just because of the money that it's going to make your team. Not that you're going to be better for it. Your team will be better immediately because LeBron James will just come in and do what he does. He'll make teams that aren't great at least halfway decent, even at 40 years old next year. But the investment that you will get, like the return on your investment that you'll get for that, is just crazy. If you didn't do that, Bronny will go higher than he's supposed to. So all I'll say is to leave this podcast off that I've done again by myself. It is what it is. appreciate greatness while you have it, because it's not too long until it's gone. So I have always been one to really try to appreciate greatness. I believe Tom Brady is the GOAT. It would take a lot for me to get off of that. Do I root for Patrick Mahomes to be the greatest quarterback of all time? Not really. But do I sit back and admire the fact that I am watching one of the wildest things ever whenever I'm watching him do what he does late in games? I don't think it's Brady level, but he's got a long way to go. And he's just poking me. So when I'm watching these guys that are coming up and they're really good, you should appreciate that. And I will appreciate LeBron James until the day that he takes his sneakers off mid-court, places them on the logo, and then walks off into the distance. So, if you've hung out this long, give me a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thanks for hanging out with me. Love you. See you.